This next part here that we're going to be going is going to be putting old on hold. Okay, not allowing you just to survive, but thrive, to have some fun in your life again, to get some happiness back in, to feel great, to be in shape, right? And to just love life again. So this is what we're going to do is we're going to bring back that amazing keynote speaker. He's right here, Dr. Brian Martin.
This section here, even though it's called metabolic weight loss, I want you to know that we're using that word weight loss. I did not mean to become a physician that had a clinic that specializes in weight loss. The first 5 years I was practicing, as I kind of highlighted, my practice was dealing with cancer patients and heart disease, because my mother had breast cancer and my father had a heart attack. So that's kind of what I led into. And my practice and myself, I've changed my identity so many times that I don't know who I am anymore. But I do know that you can have multiple identities without being crazy, which is good to know. And why I bring that up is because 95% of my patients are female, between the ages of 40 to 60, going through menopause. Now, I didn't expect, I'm a guy from Edmonton, I didn't know what a feeling was. I didn't know that you... Now, I'm probably one of the few guys that can say, I know women fairly well, as much as you can possibly know somebody, or know, I guess, a female being a guy. But I have an inside track. I have an inside track, and I'll tell you one thing that I'm very inspired, why I'm bringing this up, is women have a great ability to ask questions. And a woman on a mission for information does not rest until she finds that information. And if she goes to your clinic and you don't have that information, she's just going to go to another clinic. So I thank you. My clinic has been evolved and keeps evolving into what it is today. And we're going to use this term called metabolic weight loss. It is something that's taken me over 20 years to develop. But whether I talk about weight loss or optimal aging or feeling good or energy or decreasing disease, it's all the same. Because really what I preach, or really what I help promote, is optimal living medicine. But again, we talk about that weight. And when we talk about that weight, that's called the lifestyle weight, the stubborn weight. And what Dr. Patel was moving into is that the average female gains 20 pounds of weight 5 to 10 years before menopause, right in that stubborn area, right in the midsection. And that's without doing anything different. So let's go through here. We don't want this kind of disease. We know that all weight increases disease, almost every disease, including cancer. We don't want this kind of six-pack. We don't want this, and by the way, that's not a duck. We don't want that kind of banding of our stomach. We don't want false claims. We want patient-proven methods, clinical-proven methods of losing weight and improving our health. So what do we really want? We want to feel good. We want energy. We want vitality. We want to spend time with our kids and grandkids. We want to have activity. We want freedom. That's what we all want. The freedom and the power to be alive and be vital. Okay, let's talk. This here is a caveman. And the caveman is talking about protection. And when we talk about weight, why is weight really there? What happens with weight? Why do we really have weight? Because down the line, through olden times, archaic times, our body has been programmed to survive. And weight is a protection. Fat is a protection. A body in survival mode puts on weight. A body uses weight at protection. A body does not put on fat in peace, in thriving mode. It only puts it on if it's getting a message or several messages that it's in trouble in some way. So you're going to see when somebody's walking around and they've got weight around them, it's a protection. And just as much it can be an emotional protection as it can be a physical protection. So one thing to know about fat cells is that they're alive. They're always moving. They're always growing. And their favorite position is to hang on and be bigger. Fat cells have receptors. Some are called beta receptors that cause you to burn fat. Some are called alpha receptors that cause you to store fat. Now, women have 10 times more the ability to try to store fat. So that means, guys, if you lose weight faster, that doesn't mean it's equal, because technically you'd have to lose 10 times more weight, or 10 pounds to every one that your spouse may lead to. Talk about these hormones right here. Fat cells communicate. Fat cells are alive. We used to think they're just this blob that collects. And what we now know, it's an active organ that communicates. It has hormones. It talks to the body. Hormones talk to the fat cells, and the fat cells talk to the hormones. We talk about inflammation. We'll talk about what that is later on. Estrogen, thyroid, human growth hormone. Leptin. Who's heard of leptin? Who's heard of leptin? Okay. Well, leptin, we're going to discover, is called the off switch. Ghrelin is the on switch. It's the one that's secreted by the stomach. If I look at food, I increase this hormone called ghrelin. If I do not sleep enough and I crave more carbs, it's because of that ghrelin. So if I don't sleep enough, I wake up, I crave more carbs, it's because of this ghrelin. So these hormones are working. And if you don't eat enough, they're going to be stimulated. If you eat the wrong foods, you're not going to suppress your body. Now, I don't know if Gino didn't tell a story about the ice cream, did you? Okay, Gino's got a great story. That one time he was sitting there eating a big bucket of Neapolitan ice cream. And, oh, there, Gino, you're there. Tell me the story.
Okay, I'm telling you, this is the point last November, okay, 2010, is it 2010? Last November 2010, this is where I decided, it was the final straw, sort of thing. I was sitting watching 2.5 Men episodes. I recorded them. I watched 2 hours. Now, my wife runs a hair salon out of our home. So she was walking into the salon to do some work, and she said, Gino, don't eat out of the bucket. I had a brand new bucket of Lucerne Neapolitan ice cream, 4 liters. Okay? Don't eat out of the bucket. Okay, I go, okay. Anyways, I was eating out of the bucket, right? Watching the 2.5 Men episodes. Okay? Before I knew it, my wife was walking back in, and it was an hour or two later. I'd eaten the whole bucket, and I was still hungry. Okay? Now, most of you that have never been obese don't understand what I went through. Okay? I had no idea I was doing it. I just kept on eating and eating, and that's something in my brain wasn't telling me I was full. Okay, so it is a problem, and it's because of what I was eating, and now I don't have that problem anymore because of Dr. Martin and Zingler. So, okay.
Thanks, Gino. Yeah. So just to give you an idea, what hormone he was suppressing was this thing called leptin, the I'm full switch. His body was not telling him to stop. So his old brain was saying, eat more, eat more. Now, how many times have we felt full? And we feel full by our stomach expanding, the pain of our stomach expanding. That is a little too late. You're not supposed to feel it that way. Your brain is supposed to feel full, and then you're supposed to stop eating. But we live in the most overfed, undernourished population that's high sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and all these different chemicals that will actually shut off our body's ability to see food. So we're eating empty calories. Any metabolic techniques or nutraceuticals that aim at helping retrain that go after not only obesity, but they decrease inflammation, they decrease chronic disease. So I'm full switch. There's leptin. The hypothalamus is like a boss. We'll give you a crash course later. There's the fat cell. There's your fat. You eat something, your fat cell grows, your fat secretes leptin, leptin rises, and it tells your body you're full. That's what's supposed to happen. However, in Gino's case, and so many people, if it's desensitized with stress, chemicals, deficiencies, or too much sugar, it doesn't get that message, and you keep eating. This is the average person. North American population has this going on. That's why we're eating tons and tons and 5,000, 6,000 calories and not stopping. So metabolic factors. Why do fat cells store? Some of the things we're going to talk about. Now, we're not going to go through the details, but just to give you an idea what I mean by metabolic weight loss. And again, any clinic, this took me 20 years to develop. And so I'm excited to know that there's products and services and treatments in my clinic that can help address these, because this is what you need to address. And it's not like you need to address every one, because there are a lot of them are related. But nutritional deficiencies, we'll go into each one later on. Digestion and assimilation, lean muscle, protecting lean muscle. Blood sugar control and insulin. Insulin is a hormone that takes sugar from your bloodstream and moves it inside of cells. But insulin can also be high and elevated, and also gives us the message that we're in trouble. High insulin is created when we're stressed as well, which makes us store fat. Inflammation and free radicals. Free radicals are damage. Hormonal imbalance, too much or too little. Toxins and heavy metals, lead, mercury, arsenic, cadmium. If you have mercury in your mouth, you got mercury in your body. Now, don't run out here and start removing your mercury. You have to make sure it's safe. But heavy metals affect cells, tissues, and organs and damage them. Also affect how your body sees food. mood, appetite, and cravings. One of the biggest things that we see, it's not that you can't lose weight by starving yourself. I mean, you'll lose bone and muscle. You won't necessarily use the right fat. It's about targeting the weight to make sure that your body does not feel stressed. Your body can't be grinning and bearing it. I have numerous patients, I ask them about their diet plan or the program they were on before, or when they went to another clinic and they lost weight. And they say commonly, you know, it worked for me, I lost the weight, but I just, you know, I suffered all the way, I grinned and bared it. And I said, well, did you get it back? Well, yeah, I kind of got it back. See, that's not a good way to lose weight. You have to make sure that you are comfortable losing weight, that your body does never gets a message that it's in trouble. Now, sure, you might have some mild cravings and things like that, but that's great when you find things that can control cravings. A lot of people have this willpower thing and go, you know what, I didn't have the willpower because their blood sugar was unstable, because their serotonin was low, when in fact there's things out there that help stabilize that serotonin. There's things available now to us that help stabilize dopamine and serotonin, these neurotransmitters, and they help give you willpower. Willpower in a box, willpower, it's amazing. So you have more of a success, and that's what it's all about, long-term success, so you feel good, you're training your body, you get a long-term effect. Again, if you train your body with weight, you also lower down all the risk for the disease and also lower down the risk for cells being aging fast. And of course, stress response. By the way, the stress of a happy life is different than the stress of an unhappy life, correct? And stress just means change. If your blood sugar drops, that's stress. It's not just about stress by thinking about the unknown. How many people spend their minds racing at night? How many people? Good? Yeah, okay. That would be your mind. That would be, by the way, I'm going to talk about the mind. Thanks, Chantel, in the back. So what do we have a problem? We're supersizing everything. We're supersizing everything, and we're still not full. Exactly what we're seeing. Exactly what we're desensitizing. Unless Americans learn to prefer quality over quantity, we're going to just continue to have a problem. And look at the main difference between Europe and North America. Too many empty calories. 1/4 of all the vegetables consumed in this country are eaten as French fries. Let's talk about inflammation. My daughter, when she was younger, used to do this little thing called the snake, right? You guys know what the snake is? Little scratch there. The snake's coming. Is it just my daughter that does that? Little snake? She scratches me on the arm, makes a little path for the snake, and then 5 minutes later you see this big red line. That's inflammation. Inflammation is your body's immune system responding to damaged cells. That's what inflammation is. However, chronic inflammation in every tissue is what is connected to almost every disease. The surprising link between inflammation, heart attacks, cancer, and Alzheimer's. That's every chronic disease. So again, think on the opposite way, the proactive side, any product, service, treatment that lowers down inflammation not only helps lower down weight, also make sure you have high quality of life. So more inflammation, the more fat. By the way, the body never does anything to hurt you on purpose. Your body is your best friend. It's been there with you, and it's actively always doing the best it can under the circumstances that it's placed into, and it wants to live, and it wants to survive. But fat is inflammatory. So in other words, for your body to put on fat, it must think it really had to. Fat is inflammatory, and inflammation causes more fat. Sugar ages us. Why this picture is there is that if you ever want to speed up the age of an animal in a study, just feed it sugar. Just feed it sugar. So this is going to help you be proactive. Sugar's in everything. You'll read the labels. It's in everything we have. We're being inundated with sugar, especially the high fructose corn syrup, as I mentioned. Sugar ages cells. It makes, now this is kind of a bad joke, but you'll get it. It makes tissues that should be soft and supple, hard and brittle. And it makes things that should be kind of hard, soft. All right? I'll let you figure that out. So it's not good. Now, they also did a study with animals where they gave half of these animals, rats, all signed a consent form. These rats, they gave them, half of them they gave cocaine to and half sugar. Guess what happened? The rats preferred the sugar. It's very addictive. So roughly fat concentration, or fat consumption's roughly been the same since 1960. So we're seeing relatively the same amount of fat. But sugar has gone up. The average now is over 150 pounds of sugar per person. And I don't eat a lot of it, so someone out there is doing 300 pounds without knowing it. And I say without knowing it because if you're putting in those Neapolitan ice creams, again, most likely you don't know it. You don't know it, don't register it. So if you want to increase the rate that somebody ages. And if sugar was a drug, it would be responsible for more deaths than any drug ever made. Deficiencies. F your cells and your tissues and your body and your liver to get rid of toxins. If it's short on any nutrient, as you mentioned, we saw the thyroid and how the thyroid needed certain vitamins and minerals to even work. If you're short on any nutrient, your body's not going to die. It's just not going to do its job. So being short on nutrients will also create more inflammation and more weight. And being more deficient will also create more disease. And then more diseases create more deficiencies. The days of thinking that you can just get your nutrition from your diet are over. Even if you ate a perfect food, organic, you're still going to be deficient because of all the environmental toxins, all the salts that come after us. We still need to supplement. Food allergies. If I were to test the blood of every one of you and measure the antibodies or soldiers that are programmed against food, dairy, wheat, eggs, things like that, 90% of you would have some form of allergic reactions to dairy and eggs and wheat. And wheat is called celiac disease. Who knows what celiac disease is? Celiac's okay. One of the things that Gino had happened was he was allergic to wheat. It takes years and years of practice to hurt and traumatize your digestive tract to even create that kind of reaction. And it's funny because what we're seeing is a higher amount. Foods are increasing the amount of gluten, this protein that we used to be able to digest and assimilate. We're losing our ability to digest and assimilate, so this protein is seen as foreign, so our body's now attacking it. And we used to see this in kids, and the highest amount of population that is forming gluten or gliadin problems, sorry, gliadin is the protein of gluten, are women in their 40s. This is why every person that comes to my clinic, I not only test thyroid, but I'm measuring gliadin. Pollution and toxins. The average person has over 400 different toxins floating around in their body or trapped in fat tissue. Your body uses fat as a reservoir to get rid of a toxin. And there's so many different chemicals, our body's never seen them before. We're making all these man-made chemicals. So if you, for instance, thinking about getting rid of toxins just by lowering down weight, you're detoxifying your body. However, I'll give you a little twist. Like you go into the gym, half the part is just to get there and show up. I have all these patients that went to the gym and worked out, did everything, but didn't lose weight. Because they were deficient and they didn't maximize their detoxification pathways through the liver and the kidneys and the skin. What that meant is their body burned the fat. Then it mobilized the toxin. Then it tried to go through the liver, but the liver said, you know what, I'm missing something, and send it back. And the body created more fat again, and it cycled back. So you always have to make sure you're not deficient. Heavy metals, again, we talked about lead, mercury, arsenic, and cadmium. Every one of these is going to affect your weight and every cell in your body. By the way, toxins, heavy metals, increase free radicals, which we haven't talked about a lot, but free radicals are like exhaust in a car. They're normal, but in excessive amounts, they create more cancer cells. So an antioxidant protects us from free radicals. But heavy metals increase free radicals by 1 million. So antioxidants help with that. MSG, we call that a flavoring agent. Technically, it's not a flavoring agent, it's a fattening agent. It's a fattening agent because it blocks leptin. So the more MSG you have, it stimulates your brain to overeat. And there's studies on this. Certain companies that create, say, chips and tacos and things like that, they have studied the exact amount of salt, the exact amount of MSG to take. By the way, have you ever had a chip and you say, that's too salty, I can't take it, and you move away from it? And you go, can I have another one of those? And you go back. That's the study. They know exactly that right amount. There's studies for that to see how much it takes just to go ahead and take some more. So MSG, take a look at it. And think even back to toxins. What do they do in animals to get a better feed or get a better yield? They give these certain chemicals and pro-hormones, which really are not on hormones, they're drugs made to look like a hormone, to certain animals, chicken and things like that, to make them fat, to fatten them. And then you eat that food and you're fattening yourself up too. Now, you're not being sold by the pound, so it's a little different. So we talked about a little bit about hormonal imbalances, menopause, as I mentioned, sleep disturbances. By the way, if you're sleeping less, you're going to crave more, and if you're sleeping less, you're going to gain more weight. Lean muscle loss, rapid aging, and increased fat around the midsection. Balancing hormones. Andropause, low testosterone, afternoon naps, loss of creativity, depression. Now, this is really odd, here's a person, male or female, going through life, they're in their 50s and 60s, and all of a sudden they're given antidepressant medications by their doctor because now all of a sudden now they can't get life? But they're overdosed. A lot of guys and women are put on antidepressants for hormonal issues. Hormones hit neurotransmitters. They help you feel better. They help you feel stronger. So it's not a deficiency of an antidepressant. Even though sometimes those drugs can help short term, that's not the answer. Memory, diabetes. Very rare do I say reverse. I have reversed diabetes type 2 using testosterone. And Dr. Patel would testify to that. Any guy who's on diabetic medications, you can reverse it by using testosterone because testosterone helps with insulin. And decrease libido. I put it last because it has a good effect, right? Okay? We don't want that. Guys don't like that, right? And, of course, decrease competitiveness. Now, my wife, we've had this conversation. She goes, "Why are you so reckless? Why are you so reckless? Why are you so reckless?" And I go, "Honey, you know what? It's a guy's nature to gamble. That's what we do. We gamble. I mean, you see a bridge over there. You think that thing just went up because no one made a mistake? You think that whole thing, no one made a mistake or gambled or took a chance? Everything is built on creativity. For guys, we have to be creative. We have to. We have to expand. We have to build. We have to go beyond our comfort zones. That's the nature of us. That's what's built into us." And I said to my wife, "And first of all, you are the bigger gambler anyway." She asked why. "Because you love me." So that is the biggest one. So decrease competitiveness. Decrease competitiveness. If this is the competition, that's not what we want. Increase midsection body weight for low testosterone. All right, low thyroid, we already talked about. The average 30% of the female population has an underdiagnosed thyroid that they'll suffer with for 3 to 5 years before it's ever tested conventionally. So it always should be tested more functionally. Serotonin and dopamine. These are neurotransmitters like hormones for the brain that help you feel full and help you feel satisfied. If someone's going through chronic pain, you're going to deplete these. If you're sad or upset or angry or you have issues coming from your past that you haven't resolved, you're going to carry these and take these hormones down. But how they affect in weight is that they make you feel, again, satisfied and they help with pleasure. But imbalances will cause binge eating. Imbalances will cause carb and sugar cravings. And what's great is there's products out there now that affect serotonin that are not an antidepressant, because antidepressants don't do this. Antidepressants make you gain weight. There's things available now that are natural that help build up serotonin, help build up dopamine, and help people on a diet plan maintain that weight, maintain their focus, and attain their goals long term and retrain their body. What's interesting is the heavier a person was, the more fat they had, the less receptors that they had, which means they had to eat more to get the same effect. They had to eat more to get the same effect. Stress, there we go. So what your body sees. Now I'm going to give you a little crash course on love and heart and mind here really quick. And to hypothalamus, we talked about pituitary and adrenals. Think of this hypothalamus like a boss, like a boss in a construction site. Think of the pituitary like the foreman. Think of the adrenals like the workers. Okay, so let's say you have a hard day at work. Let's say you got too much coffee. By the way, coffee directly stimulates cortisol, and cortisol is a hormone that can cause more stress. Sugar, too much exercise or not enough. Relationship problems, missing a meal, pollution, and conflict. Sounds like a pretty standard day, right? Okay. Now, who knows what conflict is? Who's had conflict inside their head? Okay. Everybody else? No? Okay. Well, I'm going to give you a little crash course of what I mean by conflict. A little digress. We're going to digress a little bit into something called the heart and mind, for lack of a better word. So we have this part of us. Most people don't know this. Most people don't know that they actually have a part that they feel with and they think with. Most people don't know that. And I'm not saying them to separate them. I'm saying them so you can see how they work together. Most people will say, I'm always in my mind. But if your mind's not your best friend at that time, it's not always good to be there. So it's good to know that there's a difference. You have a part that you feel with that exists in the present moment, and you have your mind that exists based on your past program and your survival. And both of them are supposed to get along. The mind is like a computer. It's not set up to win. It's just trying to not lose. It's a difference. It is what defends you. It's chained into what it believes. It can be changed, but it needs to be changed by you. And the whole reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's about having compassion for your own mind. If you don't even know that there's a part of you. For instance, when my mind talks, and this may sound like a foreign concept, I don't always take it too seriously. Because what would it know? It's just trapped in a certain way of thinking. But if you don't know that you're not your mind, there's you, the person that wants to love and be loved, right? Everyone wants to be loved and loved? Love and be loved. Anybody not want to love and be loved? That would, right? That's kind of a standard, right? We all want that. And then there's your mind. And there has to be a relationship with those two. For long-term health, for long-term optimal health, for long-term anything, you have to be able to know those differences and be able to retrain your mind. This whole concept is new. I can talk to my mind. Sure you can. I don't always agree with what my mind says. I don't always agree. I don't need to agree with everything my mind says to do an action. So we're not going to go too deep, but let's go through. And that's thriving mode is your peace, your creativity. It exists in the present moment. In between is called conflict. And that's where you'll gain a lot of weight. You'll gain a lot of weight. So back to this, as we talked about. Now, conflict, your boss talks to your foreman. That was heavy, eh? You guys okay? Take a breath. It's okay. I'm going to give you a little story then to how to brighten that up. I was in the Seattle airport one time, and there was this Marine that had just come back from his second tour. And I don't know why I asked him. I make a habit of asking these questions. I said, so what do you think stronger, love or fear? And he thought about it for a little while. You asked me, do I ask that question a lot? Yes, I do. What do you think stronger, love or fear? And he said, well, I'm trying to do this accent. I can't do it. So, well, you know, fear is something that you overcome, and love is something that's always been there. I thought that was an amazing thing. So there's a little feel-good moment, and back to this. Okay, so your boss talks to your foreman, talks to your worker, and you release cortisol and stress hormones, and then your body goes through and creates a stress. Now, our body is meant to handle stress. It's meant to run from the dinosaur, be trapped in a cave, store fat to protect us, and then escape. We're not supposed to have a dinosaur at every corner. We're not supposed to be stressing all day. We're supposed to have some time to rest. But in modern day world, we have chronic stress. Physiological stress, emotional stress, environmental stress. And this is one of the reasons, another big reason why we're storing fat. So again, opposite of that, any product, service, treatment, or modality, exercise, meditation, whatever you have, all of it, that helps retrain that cortisol reaction, helps you retrain that, is going to have success not only in losing weight, but also vitality. Stress hormones, as I mentioned, cortisol, major role in fat production. Stressed is dessert spelled backwards. If you get stressed, you're going to crave more carbs. I'm on a low-carb diet. Whenever I feel low, I eat carbs. Emotions we've kind of touched on, right? But many people eat in response to protective emotions, such as sadness, such as boredom, such as anger. And they're not even hungry. Like if I ask patients as they go through a plan, and they go, you know what, I was eating, I was home, I was just watching TV, and I was bored, and I started eating. And I'm going to give you one tool, because anybody who's trying to do or doing a successful plan, most likely this is going to happen. This is a little trick. If you're hungry, just ask yourself, am I really hungry? Put it down on a piece of paper. The bulk of the time, you'll say no. Then you ask another question. What do I really need to feel good? What do I really need at this moment to feel good? Write a list. It might say, no, I wanted that chocolate cake. And the other one, you might say, I needed to run, scream, feel sad, ask for extra love. Whatever it is, you need to create power. And in order to do that, you have to put a pause in, because that's how you retrain your mind. You can't blame your mind for thinking that when you're bored or trapped or stuck or powerless. You can't blame your mind for saying, you know what, when you were younger, you had a piece of chocolate cake that made you feel good. So I'm just reminding you that chocolate cake makes you feel good. This is how you retrain your mind. So just to give, the way we think affects the way we feel and heal and live and evolve. So our thoughts talk to our workers, our immune system is created. The more stress we have, the more inflammation we have. And the more inflammation we have and the more stress we have, the more fat we get. Metabolic program. So the metabolic program, and I'm happy that we're being hosted by Zingler, because they're part of I guess what we call an in-house or out-of-clinic metabolic program. I'm also happy for some of the other sponsors that we'll talk about later on too as well. But balance and repair, nutrients, blood sugar and insulin, hormones, thyroid, testosterone if you need them, lower down the inflammation, remove your toxins, maximize fat burning, and increase your happiness and comfort. That's a metabolic program. And you can do that in the clinic, and if you're able to do that at home in the comfort of your own home and only use the clinic when you have to, that's an amazing power that was not available before. These types of help, this type of help was never available before, and we didn't know as much. Now we do. It's an amazing time for power for people. So some of the things, just a little touch base on HCG. Who's heard of HCG for weight loss? Now, we're not going to talk about a huge amount, but I will tell you, I use HCG in my clinic. In a clinic setting, you can use lots of things, hormones, HCG. And again, we live in an amazing time with amazing tools such as HCG, okay, which is a pregnancy hormone that helps lose weight. But it works even better when you use metabolic nutraceuticals, or metabolic function, or hormones, or stress relief. And that's the idea, to use the tools that you have to. They all work together and they enhance each other. And that's the idea. It's not to limit yourself. Some people can do it at home, some people need a clinic, some people can use a combination of both. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. If anybody has more information or questions, I can give them more. So the metabolic plan, bottom line is if you decrease fat, you have more alive time. That's what we're looking for. So rapid metabolic plan talks about diet, nutrition, mental, emotional, metabolic products. As I mentioned, one of the sponsors is Singular, and they're one of the first. They're one of the first that went past the line and started doing metabolic health. They started hitting the triggers that are common. It's one of the first ones I've ever seen. It took me 20 years of practice to develop these techniques. And so whenever I see certain products, and I've got products in my clinic as well that help, but when I see something that people can use on their own and use in the clinical setting and become more healthy and inspirational, that's a pretty amazing thing. We didn't have that before. So metabolic plan testimonials, these are things that patients have said. These are things that I've gotten through. People have said they're hungry, they feel more comfortable, they enjoy losing weight. They enjoy losing weight. Their energy improved. They lost up to 1 pound a day. The abnormal fat got targeted. They didn't just lose it from their face and they look weak. They actually have their color back. Women got their curves back. I got my curves back. Maintained elasticity. They kept it off. That was the key. They were comfortable enough time to retrain their body to keep it off. And they had a different relationship with food. They had a different relationship with their body. Gino, bottom line, what's the chance you're going to slide back into feeling lousy? None, because you feel too good. Vina, what's the chance you're going to slide back? Never, because we feel good, and if you feel good for a certain period of time, and that's the idea. So to enjoy a long, active lifespan, the best time to start is always in the now because, well, you can't go back in the past, and if you wait, it just gets worse. New Year's changes, that's good. Your actions today, if you decide to take any actions, I asked you for opportunity. Would you take the opportunity? And sometimes just learning is the opportunity. So positive thinking, as I mentioned, time to smile. Just smiling. I know it sounds odd, but just smiling, they already know that you decrease your age. You actually can live 7.5 years longer just by smiling. That was almost better than smoking, which, by the way, I think when you're smiling and you're happy, you stop smoking. Oh, right. Okay. Love, adding some love. I know it sounds odd, but when you're trying to lose weight, sometimes you have to just go to your tummy. It's okay. It's okay. You're safe. I don't need you anymore. It's okay. Don't be angry at it. Doesn't like that. Okay? And don't say, I love you too, because it doesn't necessarily like that either. Just say, it's okay, I don't need you anymore. Little tool for you, just real quick. It's called the BIT tool. Works 100% of the time when your mind is messing with you or when you need to train it. Whenever you breathe, you bring your mind to you. And then you're going to say something like, I'm okay in this moment. So you're going to breathe. That's what the B means. I'm okay in this moment, because your mind can believe you're okay in this moment. If you said, I'm okay for the rest of my life, it probably wouldn't believe that. All right, and then you say thanks. If you want to be spiritual about it, you put the word God in there. You say, thank you, God, for the opportunity for more love. Thank you, God, for the opportunity for health. Thank you for the ability to lose weight. And to say that whenever you feel stressed, or to say that in the morning and night, will re-anchor you and retrain that mind to work for you, because your mind works for you. That will start creating some healthy choices, some healthy actions, protein eating at breakfast, things like that, increasing your water, tracking what you eat. Sleep, very important. If you're not sleeping because your hormones are off, you're going to gain weight. If you're sleeping less, you'll crave more carbs again. So getting your sleep and exercise. What fits to your busy schedule? Exercising 1 hour a day or being dead for 24 hours a day. So metabolic support, Singular Clinic in a Box, whether you do things in my clinic or whether you do things on your own or with a combination, again, very few. In my clinic, I've got several things I have to use. You have the ability to actually use this for yourself. Rapid metabolic weight loss, energy, optimal aging. These are the ones. These are one of our sponsors, our main sponsors for tonight. So let's give you a little curve here. 0 to 90% on the bottom is 0 to 90 for age, 0 to 100% for health. Usually till 30, you can do anything you want. Sometimes if it's bad, if it's fun, you can do it twice. Doesn't matter. Okay, optimal aging, declining health, goes down. Hopefully it's a little slower than that. Now what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to feel good, 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 drop. You see the middle? The middle here? This middle is optimal living medicine. This is where we have the power. This is where we change our diet, our lifestyle, our attitude, our exercise, and where we help our metabolic function. And that is what optimal aging is about. You've got lots of opportunity. I asked, if you're given the opportunity, would you take it? These are the opportunities. So thank you very much.